Batman the Ride. On June 28, 2008, 17-year-old Asia Leishawn Ferguson visited Six Flags Over Georgia with his church youth group from South Carolina. Batman was an inverted roller coaster where passengers hung beneath the track with their legs dangling freely as the ride reached speeds of 50 miles per hour through 2 vertical loops and a corkscrew, bringing riders' feet within inches of the ground. Around 2 p.m., Ferguson and a friend decided to take a shortcut back to the ride entrance instead of using the designated walkway. They climbed over a 6-foot chain-link fence covered with warning signs reading, "Danger Zone, Do Not Enter," and "Authorized Personnel Only." Then they climbed over a second 6-foot wrought iron fence, also covered in warning signs. Ferguson walked directly into the restricted area beneath the track. Train approached at 50 miles per hour through an inverted section. He didn't look up. One passenger's foot connected with his head. The impact was instant. Ferguson was decapitated. The force severed his cervical vertebrae, ripped his spinal cord apart, and tore open both carotid arteries. His head separated and rolled 6 feet across the concrete, while his body remained standing for 2 seconds. Blood jetted from the neck in rhythmic pulses for 30 seconds. Then the body collapsed. The train continued to the station while Ferguson's body lay below. An off-duty police officer heard screaming and found Ferguson's head lying separate from his body, the eyes still open. This was not the first death at this exact location. In May 2002, 6 years earlier, 58-year-old groundskeeper Samuel Milton Guyton had entered the same restricted area beneath the same section of track. A passenger's foot struck his head, and he died instantly. 2 decapitations at the same ride from the same cause in the same forbidden zone. The Batman ride closed for 3 days while Georgia Department of Labor inspectors examined the mechanism and found nothing mechanically wrong. It reopened with additional security personnel assigned to monitor the fences. The ride still operates today. The Big Dipper. On May 30th, 1972, 8-year-old Anthony Wilson climbed into the rear car of the Big Dipper at Battersea Park Fun Fair in London with 30 other passengers. The wooden roller coaster had been operating since 1951 and was the park's main attraction on what had become a crowded Saturday afternoon after schools broke up for half-term. The lift chain pulled the train up the first hill. About 20 feet from the top, it detached. The train stopped on the incline, and for a moment, everything went silent. Then gravity took over. The train began rolling backwards, slowly at first, then accelerating as it descended. The anti-rollback mechanism was designed to prevent exactly this. Metal teeth were supposed to grip the track and stop the train. They failed to engage. As the train picked up speed, it hit a sharp curve at the bottom. The wooden track couldn't handle the lateral forces. The last carriage jumped the rails, and it flew 30 feet through the air, smashed through a wooden barrier, hit the ground. The impact was catastrophic. Anthony Wilson's spine compressed, his ribcage collapsed inward, and his sternum drove into his heart while bone fragments punctured both lungs. 4 other children died instantly. 13 more passengers were pulled from the wreckage with broken spines and internal bleeding. The investigation revealed that the lift chain showed signs of metal fatigue and should have been replaced months earlier, while the anti-rollback device had not been properly maintained. Both safety systems failed within seconds of each other. The ride's manager and engineer were charged with manslaughter, but a jury found them not guilty. The Big Dipper never reopened, and Battersea Fun Fair closed permanently in 1974. Willard's Whizzer. On March 29, 1980, 14-year-old David Hernandez visited California's Great America with his father Ricardo during one of their regular trips to ride the Whizzer, a speed racer model coaster they had visited 4 times that month. The ride had a documented defect that everyone at the park knew about. The braking system was faulty and had caused 11 station collisions since the ride opened in 1976. Park maintenance had filed multiple reports requesting repairs. Management had done nothing. That day, 2 trains were operating. David and Ricardo sat in the front car of the second train as the first train ahead entered the station. The brakes engaged but failed to stop the train completely. It kept drifting slowly through the platform. As the second train approached at full speed, the operator hit the emergency brake. Too late. The collision threw David forward violently into the restraint bar. His sternum shattered down the center, his ribcage collapsed, and broken ribs punctured his heart in 3 places while his aorta ruptured and blood filled his chest cavity. He did not die instantly. David died in his father's arms as Ricardo held him and screamed while blood ran from David's mouth. His body convulsed once, then again, then went still. Security personnel had to physically pull Ricardo's arms open to remove the body. 8 others were injured with broken bones and lacerations. 1 passenger suffered permanent spinal cord damage. The investigation revealed a 4-year documented history of brake failures, 11 prior collisions, and multiple ignored maintenance requests. The Speed Racer design had a fundamental flaw where the braking system could not handle the weight of fully loaded trains. Both the manufacturer and the park knew about it. Nobody had fixed it. The Whizzer closed permanently. Multiple lawsuits followed, and juries awarded millions in damages. Similar Speed Racer rides at other parks were immediately shut down and their braking systems completely redesigned. But for Ricardo Hernandez, it was already too late. Roller coasters are statistically safe with millions of riders every year, and odds of death at approximately 1 in 750 million. But when mechanical failures occur, the physics are brutal. Bodies are thrown from cars, spines are severed, organs are crushed, and passengers die while their families watch. Most of these deaths were preventable through proper maintenance and actually repairing known defects instead of filing reports that were ignored. Maintenance costs money and downtime loses revenue. The rides kept running. Families received settlements, rides were demolished, and new regulations were written. But none of it brought anyone back. The Big Dipper. On the evening of July 24th, 1930, 19-year-old Frank Stevens sat in the front row of the Big Dipper at Krug Park in Omaha, Nebraska, with his girlfriend Martha beside him. It was summer vacation and the park was running at full capacity with 4 cars loaded with teenagers. The train climbed the first hill. As it reached the top, a single bolt in the wheel assembly snapped, after 4 years of thermal stress and metal fatigue. The lead car's front wheels lost contact with the track. The car tilted forward and jumped the rails completely, taking the 3 cars behind it over the edge. The train dropped 35 feet. Frank's body hit the ground first. The impact burst his skull open with bone fragments driving inward, while brain matter exploded outward across the dirt. His jaw tore completely free and his teeth scattered across the ground. Martha landed beside him with her left arm severed at the shoulder, her pelvis shattered, and her femoral artery cut clean through. Blood fountained from the wound as she remained conscious for 4 minutes, watching Frank's destroyed face before shock finally took her. 4 people died on impact. 17 others were thrown from the wreckage with broken necks, crushed skulls, and severed limbs. Emergency crews found body parts scattered across 50 feet of ground. 1 victim's severed leg was still hanging from the track structure above, the shoe still on the foot. The Omaha City Council convened an emergency session that same night and banned all roller coasters from operating within city limits. The ban remained in effect for 40 years. Krug Park closed permanently in 1940. It remains the deadliest roller coaster accident in American history. Gillian's Wonderland Pier. On August 28, 1999, 39-year-old Kimberly Bailey and her 8-year-old daughter Jessica climbed into the front seat of a roller coaster at Gillian's Wonderland Pier during a mother-daughter day at the park. The operator checked their safety bar, and it clicked into place as the train began its ascent. The drag chain pulled the car up the lift hill. 15 feet from the peak, it disconnected. The chain was designed to pull the car all the way to the top before releasing. It released early while the car was still on the incline. The car stopped. Then it started rolling backwards. The anti-rollback device was designed with metal teeth that dig into the track as a failsafe for exactly this scenario. Rust had prevented the mechanism from engaging. The car accelerated backwards down the track, gaining speed. As it hit a 90-degree turn at extreme velocity, the physics made the turn impossible. The car flew off the track. Kimberly and Jessica were ejected. They fell together to the pier 30 feet below. Both died on impact. Kimberly's skull shattered with brain tissue forced through the fractures, her spine snapped in 3 places, and her rib cage collapsed inward, rupturing her internal organs. Jessica's body compressed on contact, her spine fractured, her pelvis was obliterated, and her skull cracked open. They lay 3 feet apart on the wooden planks while blood spread across the pier. The investigation found that the drag chain showed visible metal fatigue and should have been replaced, while the anti-rollback mechanism was so corroded it could not function. 2 separate safety systems both failed within seconds. This was the only fatal accident in Gillian's Wonderland Pier's 86-year history. The ride was demolished immediately and the pier implemented daily safety inspections for all attractions.